Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got this kind of cool 1960s, I'm guessing, maybe 70s, old hard case. And I'm really digging it. I got it for like super cheap. It's got this cool old sort of pebbled vinyl on it and these like actual aluminum trim strips on the ends. They're really heavy duty. But anyway, it's got a problem and I want to see if I can fix it. And the problem is that at some point in time, there's been a guitar in here that's been dropped. An end pin basically broke at the bottom side here. I want to see, is there something I can do to either replace that panel or shore it up so that it doesn't cause a problem anymore and actually protects the next instrument that's in here. Let's get started and I'm going to see if I can peel away the interior felt on this and remove this trim and see if we can't do something to fix that. All right, I've got this interior mostly peeled away at this point. I'm going to go ahead and finish up off camera so I can save my memory card. And then we'll work on trying to remove this trim so we can get access to this piece right here. All right, let's work on this trim. So I've got to take the bottom piece of trim off, but I'm going to start here at the top and just loosen the screws. It's weird that the case actually has screws for the trim and it's not just glued together, but I'm thankful for that because I'm hoping it makes disassembly easier. All right, so those are out of the way, so let's flip this over. I was a little bit worried about that. It's not going to be quite so simple to get this off. When I get over to this side, you can really see this damage here. It's like completely broken away from the bottom of the case, so I'm hopeful that that's a replaceable piece. So there are some staples hiding under this trim strip here. I'll remove it, and then we can get at the staples. Well, that took some wiggling, but I finally got this out. Just go ahead and straighten it up as best I can. And I've got to get these staples out. Okay, let's flip it back over to the other side. Now, I don't know how this is attached in the corners, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with a hammer and see if I can figure out where it loosens up. Yeah, I think that's going to come out okay. It does have a couple staples in the side. Yeah, that piece was broken clean through, and now I have access to get to the sides of this thing. I do have some nails I've got to take care of in the sides, and I think I don't have to push those back through the other side. I think I can just cut them off. Then I'll need to measure and cut a new piece to go in this spot. And I'm going to try to reuse this, but it might not work out. All right, let's see what kind of piece I'm going to need here. 13 3/4 by 2 inches. So I will cut a piece for that. All right, so I've cut a piece of 2" by 13 3/4" 9-layer birch ply. It fits pretty well, but I definitely have a couple of small gaps, and it's just mainly because when I had to pry out the old piece, it took out some of the old plywood underneath here with it. So what I'm going to do is use epoxy to fill this gap on the bottom because wood glue is just not good at filling gaps. It can do it, but it doesn't lead to any strength. So I'm going to use this JB Weld 5-minute quick set epoxy. Okay, I've got my epoxy mixed. So I want to make sure that it's nice and mixed because it's a 2-part deal. You put equal parts in and then you mix them together. And if they don't make contact with each other, they're not going to react. And I'm just going to lay some of it in this void here that I've got to fill. Okay, now we drop in the piece. This has got to set for a few minutes. All right, well, here is the completed glued in piece. I've actually shot a couple of nails in the side of it and a couple of staples in the very bottom of it. And that's got it really sucked up tight, and I've ground off any of the excess glue that was on the outside. And I've got a piece of Fender style Tolex that I'm going to use to recover the outside of it. I really thought about using the original piece of vinyl. It didn't lend itself to be reused because it had a split through the middle of it, and it had shrunk left to right, and it wouldn't have reached all the way to the edges of this. And I think using this piece, even though it doesn't match exactly, is going to be way easier than trying to match the original Tolex. All right, well, the reason I have some Tolex is because I've done quite a bit of amp and speaker cabinet building in the past, and what I tended to use to glue this down was contact cement. It worked pretty well but over time that cement would weaken and the Tolex would lift. And I have heard about one other method for gluing down Tolex, and that's to use wood glue on the back of the Tolex and onto the wood. I'm going to try that method on this piece of Tolex, and I'm going to use some super glue at the very edges. Okay, well the gluing got messy, so I just folded everything over, and then I've got everything kind of super glued back in place along the edges. There's a tiny little bubble here. I just couldn't get rid of it. It's actually pretty much okay. So the next thing to do is to reinstall that trim that goes around the sides of this case. That should be pretty straightforward, but I'm going to use some small nails to attach the trim. Let's flip everything over here. Okay, so I've got everything kind of cut up to the edge. You can see my staples that I installed on the corner, but they're going to be completely hidden by this trim, and that's what I like about it. All right, so now I just have to find some fasteners that I can put through the sides here. Okay, well this is going well, but I'm going to have to flip the guitar case on its side, and that's harder to film. So I'm going to put the last couple nails in the sides here, and then we'll reattach the little corners. All right, well this rubber lays back into where it started with. There's actually a channel on each side of this aluminum that the rubber actually lays down into as sort of a friction fit, so I don't have to glue it. But I do have to reattach these corners, and I've already done the one on that side, but it's really just a matter of laying them right back where they were to start with and putting in the little screws. They're not a large enough hole that I have to actually pre-drill, so that's actually very nice. Cool, well that's the completed repair, and I think you can see the difference in the Tolex on each of these two sides. Not that great. You really can't tell it unless you're staring at this thing, because this section right here is the only section that looks any different than the rest of it. It's going to go cool with some project I've got going on. Thank you all for hanging out. I really love the likes and the comments, and if you love my videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.